Hey guys, John Mooney of the Stock Marketers Podcast, and we are coming up here on 20 hours since the day started, which is kind of crazy. But it kind of brings us into what I want to talk to you about today, which is fluidity and being able to adapt to change. Because as soon as you realize that everything is constantly changing, and that if you stand still, you're basically gonna get run over by a freaking train. You start to understand that it's really important to stay fluid. And so I want to share you guys a couple of stories today that kind of unfolded today to kind of emphasize this principle, and then share with you how you can use it to really, really, really scale up your investments and absolutely crush it. So with that said, I'll see you guys after the intro. So the big question is this: how do investors like us, who don't have a PhD in finance or millions to start investing, how do we grow our bank accounts to build real savings in retirements and yet still have the time to do what we really love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Awesome. All right. I hope you guys are excited. I am so pumped. It's like the second day of the semester, and there's this one class. All my classes are whatever. I'm not even going to talk about it. But this one class, and the class is full, so I'm proctoring, and hopefully I'll get in it in the next couple of days. And it's called blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and it's taught by this cool Russian dude, and it's oh my God, so cool, so exciting. And so that's sort of my one thing I'm super pumped about today. It's really, really, really exciting. But what I really want to talk to you about is this really, really critical concept of adapting to change. And, there were a couple of things that prompted me to make this episode. And the first one is yesterday, I don't know if you guys are trading, but it was insane. I mean, it was just phenomenal. It was one of those stocks where you have about one or two of these stocks every single month, and then they just blow it out of the park. Basically, the stock opened at $2, and then it went to $4. It was a perfect ABCD setup. And there was a stock that opened at 20 cents and it went to 40 cents, and today it went to 60 cents. It was just insane. Two phenomenal stocks. They doubled, tripled, and they were really, really, really easy trades. VWAP breakthroughs, wedges, ABCD setups. I mean, when I say easy trades, these were textbook trades. But what happened is, I didn't have any day trades yesterday. I had 0 day trades. In all of my different accounts, I had no day trades. And so I don't know, man. I missed out on a couple $1,000s yesterday, and it kind of sucks because it just kind of sucks. But at the same time, you can't get upset about it. You just have to live with it. And understand that, that's a really good thing. You shouldn't be upset if you miss something like that, because all that's doing is showing you the insane power of financial markets. And that will get, that happens, very, very often. And so it's just this, you don't want to get upset. You want to use it as fuel and belief to push you towards your next best trade. So definitely a really great way to look at, sort of missed opportunities. They're not missed opportunities. They're events to fuel your faith in the market, and events to push you to that next level. And even if you don't make money on it, you can learn from it. So yeah, cool stuff there. I did learn one really, really, really great principle. If you guys don't get anything else from this episode, I want you to get this. Like I said, on the one that was $2, it was an ABCD setup, and then after it peaked on the ABCD setup, basically at a perfect target based off of the height of the A, which kind of started at a VWAP breakthrough. It started to form I think it was the second. It formed a second ABCD setup, and then the ABCD failed, and it formed a cup and handle. And for 5 seconds, the cup and handle setup, the new cup and handle setup at $5 with a target of $7.50, made a new high, but it did not close at a new high, and it immediately got rejected, and the next 1 minute candle went down 40%. I mean, it was a humongous red candle. It was literally the entire past 2 hours of movement got destroyed in 1 single minute of sell-offs. It was insane. There were millions and millions of dollars traded in a 45-second time frame. Everybody's selling, mostly stop losses, and I spent about 15 minutes literally just scrolling through the level 2 data feed, all the trades that went through, and I was scrolling through the order book and the history and the time of sales, looking at what really happened in this trade. And what happened is somebody sold 50,000 shares at the high, and then that caused the price to go down a whole bunch because the spread on the stock was 2 tenths. It was 0.2%. It was a dime, basically a dime on a $5 stock. So it was kind of pretty huge. And after that guy sold in a market order, he totally wiped out the floor of buyers and everything crashed super quickly, and then it caused a ridiculous amount of stop losses like instantly. And then the price, I mean, like I said, it went down like 40% in 1 minute. It was insane. And the stock, just for reference, was up 350%. So just to kind of give you a frame of reference. But anyway, so what I learned is that like you really, really, really want to have candles close and confirm patterns. And then the most important thing, especially when you're entering on ABCDs or cup and handles, is that the second candle after the new high opens as a green candle and 30 seconds into it is still a green candle. And then what you can do is, instead of setting your stop loss at the conservative like bottom of the C level, you can set your stop loss 3/4 up the previous green candle, knowing that you're getting in on a new green candle that's making a new high, and either it's going to keep on going up and you're going to get a ton of money from it, or it's going to reverse and go down and fail. And instead of stopping out minus 4% or 2%, you're just going to stop out minus 0.2%. So really, really, really powerful strategy there. Listen to it again if you need to. So again, setting your stop loss at about 3/4, 2/3 of the way up of the previous green candle on the breakout after it closes on the 1 minute chart, assuming that the next candle immediately after opens green and stays green for 40 seconds, 30 seconds. Anyway, that was one way where I had to. So that prompted me, like that was really the last straw. I mean, I'm kind of sick of being trapped under the PDT rule, and so I'm in the process right now of like seriously getting into some of these offshore brokerage accounts so that I can like bypass the PDT rule. Super sketchy, kind of insane, but for me, like it's a no-brainer. Like it just makes so much sense. The fees are worth it because I know that like if I can make a trade like that and double my portfolio, like dude, I'll pay whatever the hell you want as a broker. Like that's really good. And so it's really critical that you adapt to change and you make the shifts that you need in anything that you're doing. So for me, like that's a new brokerage account. But for you, like what is it that's changing right in front of your face? And then how can you make your own shifts to adapt to it? And that's the message that I want to get across to you today. And the way I want to do that is by sharing with you a story that I think is really, really, really powerful. There was this really interesting dinner tonight. Tonight. And it was like this giant party for all the international students. They all come together to have like dinner with some faculty and staff, and it's just a really, really nice event. So I'm going to this event just to have some fun, try to meet some blondes. And there's this guy named Chuck. He's like this probably, 60-year-old dude. And I just walk in, start drinking some water because I drink a lot of water, and just talking to Chuck. And I learned that Chuck, he graduated from Penn State, which is like super, super cool because that's where our English teacher went. And he's like super into like reading and Bible studies and teaching international Bible stuff. And he's basically an English teacher. But he graduated in industrial engineering, and for his whole career he worked at this industrial engineering firm, or for a big chunk of it he was just going back and forth different industrial engineering jobs. And what's interesting is like when he studied industrial engineering, he thought he was going to work in like factory mechanization or automation of assembly lines and automation of factories, which is sort of what he did. But he was telling me, I asked him what was his like most interesting job, what was the most interesting thing he did, and he told me he got hired as a consultant for Nabisco, which is like the company that makes all the cookies and candies and stuff. And he was tasked with to do like software level quality control on like Oreos and the Chips Ahoy cookies. And he was telling me about how in this new career he would literally just spend like all day like eating cookies coming right out of the oven at the Chips Ahoy factory, and like eating like a bunch of the cookies, Oreos, I mean anything you can think of. This guy was living the dream and he was getting paid for it. And he would like create these softwares to like scan the cookies and stuff, and then he would take like stacks of cookies. He would stack 5 Oreos or 10 Oreos on top of each other, and all the Oreos had to be at a certain height range, or else he would have to reject thousands and thousands of Oreos. And it was really interesting. He told me about all these rigorous tests that he put these cookies through to stress test them and make sure they were up to par. I didn't know how much work went into like Chips Ahoy cookies. Like they really, really, really test their cookies. Like every 5 minutes they just go berserk on like a batch of cookies, and on the assembly line. And his job was sort of make software for it. And for Chuck, he did not think for a moment graduating Penn that he was going to be in a cookie factory optimizing the output of delicious sweet treats and eating them himself. He did not think for a second that the most important instrument in his career would be his tongue while he slapped cookies in his mouth to test their quality. He did not think for an instant that that would be one of the largest shifts in his entire career as an engineer, and eventually allow him to retire and travel the world, teaching Bible studies. And yet it was not only because he had the technical background and the skills to have that success and have that impact and to actually achieve that career path, but most significantly is because he stood up and he was flexible when a new opportunity presented itself, and he let it freaking happen. I remember when I was growing up, I used to be insanely inflexible. I was a total just jackass kid. I mean, it was kind of crazy. I was long time ago, really, really, really in a tough place emotionally. I didn't understand social skills. I didn't have like My Little Pony or Subway or stuff like that, or careers or networking or interactions or businesses or really any kind of masterminds. And so because of that, I was constantly just extraordinarily rigid and just unable to shift plans, unable to make changes. I would, you guys always know like daily journals are key, right? And I have daily journals, or I use daily journal every single night, and it's a total game changer. Like, explodes your productivity. It's insane. Like, if that was me like a decade ago, like I would like follow that agenda like to the bone, like per every 5-minute increment or 10-minute increment or 15-minute increment or 30-minute increment, instead of focusing more significant than what I talk about in the beginning of the journal, like those overarching daily goals. And because of that, like I would not listen to anybody. I would not change my perspective. I would not change my opinion. I would stick to wrong information, and I would do stupid things because I just was too rigid to change what I was doing, change my actions. Not change myself, but change my actions. And what Chuck did here is he changed his actions, not himself. He was growing himself to be a phenomenal engineer, and he just shifted his actions a little bit to get an insanely high opportunity position at this Nebraska, at the cookie company. And so that's the message. That's the goal. This is something that literally took me probably half a decade to uncover, and it was a really, really painful process for me because I had to go through tons and tons and tons of just ridiculously difficult, deep conversation with people about like why I couldn't like function normally in so many situations because I was so rigid. So my goal and the takeaway here is to inspire fluidity and to allow you to adapt to change. Because like if you look at the most successful companies on this planet, they win because they adapt to change. GE explodes when they adapt to change, and they plummet when they don't. Their stock is absolutely berserk. I've made like 60% of them this month, and it's only like a week in. It's because you have to constantly adapt to change. If you don't adapt to change, you die. You're growing, you're dying. And so please, please, please invest the time. I don't care how long it takes. Take a step back and accept and embrace change in a meaningful way. I'm not saying, you're looking at this letter from Walmart today, and I think I'll finish off with this. I think it's a good way to sort of wrap this up. And this letter from Walmart was to IBM, and also some of their plant distribution clients and the people that they buy like produce from. And they were talking about like how they wanted to use like this privatized blockchain to track all of the shipments, and it was like early September, like I think it was 2019, and it was like this super official memo and this message and this goal that they had to track all the produce to blockchain. When in reality, like it was a privatized blockchain. It didn't even freaking like use group work or proof of work or any kind of quality encryption or hashing algorithms. And it was the same amount of work that would be done on like one single computer. And yet these guys did this huge stunt anyway for like massive PR so that they could make, or at least, add hundreds of millions, if not, I'd say probably, hundreds of millions of dollars in shareholder value in appreciation of stock based on speculation and news. And so you want to make sure that when you adapt to change, you don't go about it in a way where you're doing it for self-gain, in a disingenuous way, like trying to fake news or make yourself look better by calling yourself Long Island blockchain T or something. So your stock explodes, but in reality, you're not actually improving the core of yourself and of your assets. Instead, what you want to do is you want to adapt to change in a way that allows you to have the biggest impact possible from it. And similarly, it makes a genuine and fundamental shift in the way that you operate. That's the goal. Like getting new brokerage accounts that bypass CDT rule. Like that's a huge change. And so you want to really, really go hardcore all in with the changes that you make. And then once you do that, you start to really, really, really quickly align yourself on quality life directions and really get closer and closer and closer to the overarching focus that you have. And so that's really the major lesson today and the big message. So I really, really thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope you got a ton of value out of this episode. Thanks so much, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye. Want more stock market secrets? If so, you'll get your free copy of my best-selling book, 9 to Noon. You get your free copy plus $11,176 of unannounced bonuses. It took me years to uncover, completely for free at 9toNoonSecrets.com. Inside 9 to Noon, you'll find the top 38 secrets you can use to double your portfolio every 2 years and make upwards of 10% daily.